Welcome to Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and reviews show. This time we're taking a look at the latest EV offering from Mercedes, the EQS SUV.
We also have the future of city cars from Cupra and the Ineos Grenadier as it gets ready for production.
Plus Alfa Romeo's new Audi Q3 rival and the latest Chevy Silverado. That's all coming up, but first, the news.
Porsche has beaten the lap record for electric production cars at the Nürburgring. Using a Taycan Turbo S, Porsche has taken the lap record away from the Tesla Model S Plaid, beating it by 2 seconds with a time of 7 minutes 42.3 seconds. The German spec Taycan was fitted with 21-inch RS Spider wheels fitted with road-legal Pirelli Corsa tyres. The only modifications were a roll cage and bucket seats for safety, with the rest of the car left totally standard.
Sporty Spanish brand Cupra is planning to add to their lineup of hot hatches, EVs and crossovers with an all-new city car. It's called the URBANREBEL, and it appears to have come straight from the set of a science fiction movie. It looks incredible and will certainly stand out in a class of Kia Picantos and Fiat Pandas. We're sceptical of exactly how much of this concept will make it to production, but here's hoping. According to Cupra, the URBANREBEL is 95% representative of the production version that will hit the streets in 3 years' time. Powering the rebellious little city car is a 223 bhp electric motor driving the front wheels. That is a lot of power for a car this small, and it will do 0 to 62 in under 7 seconds. What we have here then could potentially be the first proper EV hot hatch. The range is impressive too, up to 273 miles on a single charge. The interior is just as futuristic as the outside, with lots of brightly coloured ambient lighting, a mad steering wheel with gamepad buttons, and more screens than your local Odeon. Much of URBANREBEL's construction is made from recycled and bio-based materials, while various parts are 3D printed and 3D knitted, whatever that means. Exactly how many of these new construction techniques will make it to the final model remains to be seen, but if the 2025 production car looks anything like this concept, we will be absolutely delighted.
The Chevy pickup is an icon of American motoring, and this, the latest Silverado, is the most impressive one yet. The new model has been refreshed both inside and out. Additional chrome strips above the front grille bring the truck's look in line with the Equinox and Blazer, while the cabin feels much more up to date with its slick new infotainment. The chunky dashboard is clearly very practically focused with lots of cubby holes and storage bins. Base trim levels are simplistic with work life in mind. The high country trim level, however, is adorned with wood, leather upholstery and a neatly integrated 13-inch touchscreen. In true American pickup style, each seat seems big enough to sit a family of 4. Comfort then won't be an issue on those long cross-country road trips. The Silverado now comes with a growing choice of engine flavours. Drivers that enjoy eking out every last mile of their fuel tank will be happy with the 2.7 litre inline 4. Better yet, the 5.3 litre V8 comes with GM's active fuel management system. This cuts off select cylinders, in turn saving fuel. The 3-litre diesel remains, but for the power hungry there's still a 6.2 litre V8. putting out 420 horsepower. This is enough to send it to 60 miles per hour in only 5.4 seconds. It will also help tow over 6 tons of cargo. Top of the range though is this, the ZR2. The somewhat sporty take on the pickup keeps the same 420 brake horsepower 6.2 litre V8, but does get a bunch of off-road focused additions. Multimatic dampers and huge 33-inch tyres help to create a smooth ride, while locking front and rear differentials are essential for those planning on taking their truck off-road. To ensure everyone knows you've got a ZR2, it gets a host of bespoke styling tweaks. It gets a restyled front bumper with a rugged skid plate, and much of the chrome trim has been ditched.
However, there's now a new breed of American pickup truck EVs. We've seen startups like Rivian pioneer the genre, and Ford's electric F-150 Lightning is already on sale, and now it's Chevy's turn. This is the all-new Silverado EV, a 650 brake horsepower electric truck capable of 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, with a 400-mile predicted range and 780 pounds-feet of torque. It can tow upwards of 4.5 tons, or, according to Chevrolet, up to 9 tons in the slower WT version. Production isn't due to start until next year, but for now, Chevy has revealed 2 different versions. The no-fuss, work-focused WT with its incredible towing capacity, and the faster, more luxurious RST seen here. Both models will come with an innovative multi-flex tailgate and midgate system, which allows you to load longer items than would be possible in traditional pickups. There's a load of clever storage features too, but how does it compare to the Ford Lightning? Well, for starters, it seems that Chevrolet is lagging behind. The first customer deliveries for the Silverado EV aren't expected until late 2023, while Ford Lightnings are already in showrooms. Described by Chairman Bill Ford as a defining moment for Ford and the American car industry, this could well be the truck that takes EVs truly mainstream in North America. In 2020 alone, Ford sold 750,000 F-Series pickups, so this Lightning could soon outsell Ford's other EV, the Mustang Mach-E. And don't think that this commercial vehicle won't live up to its Lightning name. It comes as standard with 2 motors, 4-wheel drive, and 563 brake horsepower, meaning the Lightning should silently power its way up to 62 miles per hour from a standstill in under 5 seconds. It'll be useful too. Like any American pickup truck, it needs to be able to fit lots of stuff in the back and tow heavy loads. Well, the Lightning has a payload of over 900 kilos and can tow more than 4.5 tons, matching the RST version of the Chevrolet. This will be the torquiest Ford truck ever made, and is designed to be at least as useful as any petrol or diesel-powered version. The range is said to be up to 300 miles, and it's capable of 150 kilowatt-hours DC fast charging, meaning it can be charged from 15 to 80% in 41 minutes. The new electric powertrain has allowed Ford to get creative with the onboard accessories. It will be available with onboard scales to weigh your load and adjust the range estimate. And it can even be used to power your house for up to 10 days in the event of a power outage at home. Chevrolet then has some catching up to do, especially with a battery-powered Ram just around the corner too.
The Ineos Grenadier, a sort of new old Land Rover, is getting closer to production. The brainchild of a British billionaire who is dismayed by the death of the old Defender, the Grenadier sets to fill the alleged gap in the market that Land Rover has left behind. Where the new Defender is a thoroughly modern vehicle, the Ineos is somewhat more old school, with a traditional ladder frame chassis and beam axles, which should lead to some fairly old-fashioned handling, reminiscent of the car it is so clearly influenced by. And while more typical SUVs may be better suited to motorway cruisers than the Ineos, the Grenadier is aimed squarely at those who want a rugged vehicle to take off-road. Ineos is aiming it at those who bought old Defenders for more than their looks: farmers, mountain rescue teams, explorers, etc. Under the bonnet, you get a choice of two BMW straight sixes, a 3-litre petrol or a 3-litre diesel, both offering the sort of performance old Defender drivers can only dream about. These are hooked up to an 8-speed auto box. Power is sent to all 4 wheels permanently, with selectable low range and locking diffs as standard. It's all very promising, we have to say. It looks brilliant. However, there is a problem. While it may be filling a gap in the market opened up by the departure of Land Rover's long-lived icon, it's priced like the new one. The entry-level commercial spec utility wagon starts at £49,000, not far behind a commercial Defender hardtop. Time will tell if the Ineos can win buyers from the green oval, but with deliveries due to start this year, we can't wait to see how it gets on.
After the break, Merck's latest SUV and a new Alfa Romeo. Coming up, a new Mercedes EV. First though,
with its model lineup down to just 2 cars, Alfa Romeo is overdue a new model. And now finally it's here. Called the Tonale, it's a small stylish SUV that sits under the Stelvio in the range. It'll need to do more than just look good though, with Alfa's existing cars, the Giulia and the aforementioned Stelvio, setting an impressively high bar for the new Audi Q3 rival to meet. However, while those 2 cars might have impressed us, it seems that buyers are still opting for German rivals. So can the Tonale finally win back buyers for Alfa Romeo? Well, from the outset it looks promising. As with other current Alfas, it looks great with the distinctive grille, aggressive inset headlights and a side profile not dissimilar from the Stelvios. At the back there's some fashionable full-width lighting and a steeply raked rear window. It looks like an Alfa should then, and the good news continues inside. A 12.3-inch digital instrument panel is housed in a classically styled binnacle, while the rest of the cabin is trimmed with leather, Alcantara and expensive-looking brushed aluminium. There are lots of buttons which may look out of place these days, but we tend to prefer physical controls rather than having to fumble through menus on an infotainment screen. Speaking of which, the Tonale comes as standard with a 10.25-inch screen with smartphone mirroring. Under the attractive bodywork, the Tonale shares its platform with some small Jeeps, but don't let that put you off. Alfa has made plenty of chassis changes to ensure the Tonale is well suited for keen drivers. Powering the Alfa, a range of petrol or diesel engines, with an EV version possibly joining the range in the future. For now, the top spec all-wheel drive cars get a 1.3-litre turbocharged 4-pot hooked up to a plug-in hybrid system. The combined output is a healthy 271 brake horsepower, good for 0 to 62 in just over 6 seconds, with an electric range of 37 miles.
But as we know, this is a very crowded sector of the market, and the Tonali will have some stiff competition like this, the Range Rover Evoque. The second generation Evoque might not look massively different from the original, but it's modern and eye-catching, and it comes with that desirable Range Rover name. Crucially for a Range Rover, it's fantastically comfortable, most noticeably on bumpy roads where even the low-profile tyres can't upset the ride quality. Prices start at £34,000 or £38,000 for a 4x4 model. The Alfa Romeo may look the part, but it'll need to be brilliant to beat the Evoque. Mercedes' lineup of electric cars is growing by the month. Choosing to create a lineup of bespoke EVs rather than sharing platforms with existing ICE models means there's plenty of gaps in the market to be filled. This time it's full-size luxury 4x4s with this, the EQS SUV. Not to be confused with the regular EQS Saloon or the EQC, the EQS SUV is the new flagship of Merc's electric selection. The name is a little confusing, we agree, but it's billed as an SUV version of the EQS rather than a separate model altogether. It will go on sale in November with prices starting at around £130,000. Not cheap then, so what do you get for all that cash? Well, it's certainly bigger than the saloon version. The wheelbase is unaltered, but it sits 200mm higher. It also gets a third row of seats, making this a proper rival for the 7-seat Tesla Model X. It gets most of the same powertrain options as the Saloon too, starting with the rear-wheel drive EQS 450. This version produces 355 brake horsepower with a useful range of 410 miles. An all-wheel drive version is also on offer, with greater performance but a smaller 380-mile range. Next up is the EQS 580. No performance figures have been released yet, but its 536 brake horsepower should move it along quite nicely. Expect to hit 62 from rest in around 4.5 seconds with a 381-mile range. All models come with 200 kilowatt rapid charging capability, meaning a 10 to 20% charge can take as little as half an hour if you have the facilities. Air suspension and adaptive dampers are fitted as standard, adjusting depending on your drive mode. All-wheel drive models get an extra off-road mode which raises the ride height by 25mm, while the screen inside shows you the yaw angles you've made it to. Speaking of screens, the incredible hyperscreen that we've previously seen on the Saloon version is an option, one we very much recommend you go for. It consists of 3 individual screens across the dashboard, creating a giant touch-sensitive display.
But how does it compare with its rivals, namely the BMW iX? First things first, we know it's not a looker. Thankfully though, once you're inside, you can't see the challenging front end or indeed any of the weird and wonderful shapes that make up the BMW iX. The cabin though is fantastic, a real step forward for BMW interiors. It's clean and simple, with everything from speakers to the air vents having been blended into their surroundings. There's an interestingly shaped steering wheel, a big pair of bright screens, and all the switches are almost hidden in what BMW calls shy-tech. It really is beautiful, with switches disguised within a little wooden control panel in the centre console next to the elegant crystal-like iDrive controller. There's a range of powertrains to choose from, starting with a 322 brake horsepower model with a 230-mile range, up to 611 brake horsepower M60 version which can do 62 from rest in under 4 seconds. For range, you're best off with the mid-level xDrive 50, which can achieve 380 miles on a single charge.
For outright long-range distance driving then, the Mercedes looks like the car to go for. If you're not so keen on waiting to get your hands on one though, the awkward-looking but ultimately rather good BMW is on sale now.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we celebrate 20 years of the Audi RS6.